Welcome back to the Big Lad podcast. Today's topic, self-doubt stops more dreams than failure ever will. I think it's natural that we all have those periods of self-doubt, and this episode is there to help you get around that. Find little mechanisms that you can use to eradicate as much self-doubt as possible within your life. Why we struggle with self-doubt. So your brain is wired for safety, not success. To be successful, you've got to take some element of risk at some point, whereas your brain is always going to choose the option for safety. Think of it as whenever you're near a cliff edge, instead of jumping, you always take that step back. Now there's those people that do those crazy cliff dives. They've wired their brains to go for, in this term, success, which is to jump because that is what they want to do. Naturally, any normal person would take the step back for safety. It's the same in any sort of situation. It doesn't have to be as extreme as that. But as Seneca said, it is not because the things are difficult that we do not dare. It's because we do not dare that they are difficult. This is essentially saying we are not willing to take that risk to see what's on the other side of that. And this is where we need to take action. Quite often, the fear of failure, the fear of judgment, and perfectionism all feed into self-doubt. We're too worried about what other people may think of us, especially when it comes to failure. You will always learn more from your failures than your wins. As I've always said, life is too short not to do the things that we want to do and the things that make us happy. So even if that comes to failure, at least you gave it a go. At least you tried. Don't worry about other people's judgment. Also, a lot of people waste time when it comes to perfectionism. The moment often is never perfect. So don't hang around waiting for it because all you're doing is wasting time. For instance, I started this podcast on my work's laptop with my work's headset. That has then evolved into me buying a Mac. I've got my camera now as the webcam. I've got this decent mic and a ring light. It started off really basic, but I learned the process along the way. And it was the same with my fitness Instagram account. If you scroll all the way back through my posts, there's some awful content, to be quite honest. And seeing that grow over time, it's got better and better and better to the point where it is now. It's still got room for improvement, but if I'd have hung around waiting for the perfect content creation, the perfect podcast setup, it would have never came because it's still not there right now. So don't hang around wasting time. Just do it. As Joe Rogan says, most people overestimate what they can do in a year and underestimate what they can do in a decade. What this is essentially saying is you think you can do a lot more in that first year when you underestimate how much you can do in a decade. Things don't just happen overnight. You've got to be patient with the process, build on things, make small habits, and they can then lead ultimately to bigger goals. One of the best examples of successful people who battled self-doubt that I can think of is Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan, if you didn't know, actually got cut from his varsity basketball team. Do you think his self-doubt stopped him from being a 6-time NBA champion? I don't think so. He basically used that setback to fuel the fire, work harder in training, and then make his way to becoming one of the best basketball players of all time. How you can overcome self-doubt and take action. So reframe your inner voice, speak to yourself like you would a close friend. Quite often we are our own worst enemies. We speak to ourselves like rubbish. Change that up. Speak to yourself like one of your close friends, and you will give other people better advice and then not listen to it yourself. As Marcus Aurelius says, the happiness of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts. So if you're constantly beating yourself up, talking to yourself like rubbish, saying you're not good enough, then that is going to be constantly on your mind. You need to think positively, especially when it comes to self-doubt, because if you're constantly thinking negatively, you're just digging yourself a deeper hole. Progress over perfectionism. Perfectionism keeps you stuck. Just get started. As I said with the podcast, I started with a really poor setup. The video quality wasn't great. The audio also wasn't great. I've now invested in my mic. I've got a good piece of software that can also help with the audio quality in the background of that too. It is a case of just getting started. Don't hang around for perfect time because you're, again, like I say, wasting time. Take small, fast actions. The longer you think, the less likely you are to act. You've just got to make the jump. There's a great quote from a film. When it feels scary to jump, this is exactly when you jump. Otherwise, you end up staying in the same place your whole life. You've got to make those small, fast actions. Going back to cliff jumping or jumping off a diving board, the longer you are waiting at the edge of that cliff or diving board, the less likely you are to jump because those thoughts are going through your head. The self-doubt kicks in. If you go straight up that ladder, go straight to the end, have a little look, jump off. You are so much more likely to do it. Then, really important one, surrounding yourself with the right people. Self-doubt thrives in a negative environment, not only within your own head, but if you've got negative people around you doubting you and your abilities, then that is only going to feed into it. You want people around you that are going to lift you up when you're feeling down and help you keep on track towards the goal. When I first started my Instagram account, I actually blocked pretty much everyone I knew just because I didn't want the negative comments. A few people did find out about it and did give some negative comments. To be fair, I'm not trying to brag or anything like that, but I'm really good mentally and have really good coping mechanisms with negative feedback. So I'm quite lucky in that fact, but it is something that I've had to work on over time as well. It's not something that I've just been born with. I've got ways around things and generally not caring about other people's opinions, but it is really important to surround yourself with the right people that are going to lift you up when you need it and not just constantly beat you down. Prove yourself wrong. Every small win builds confidence, and just every time you do that, you're building on top of that, pushing yourself out of that comfort zone, growing as a person. Prove it to yourself that you can do it. Set those ambitious goals and just go for it, because you never know what may come of it. And the more ambitious you go for, even if you don't reach that and you reach slightly lower down, then you're probably still going to be in a very good place. This is becoming a bit of a theme. I'm setting you another challenge. I want you to identify one thing that you've been overthinking or doubting yourself on and take one small action towards it today. DM me on social media, either at the Big Lab Podcast or GW_fit on Instagram, and let me know what you've done. I love to hear your progress. I love to get those messages and just know that this podcast is having some sort of an impact positively on the listeners' lives. I'm going to leave you with one final thought. Confidence isn't the absence of self-doubt. It's taking action despite of it. I hope you've really enjoyed this one, and I hope you are going to take action today. If you do, like I've mentioned, drop me a message on Instagram. If you are new to this podcast, make sure you subscribe. If you've enjoyed it, please drop a like or a review on whatever platform you are on. Really appreciate it, and it really helps me push it out to other people. I will see you in the next one.